reproductive rights are under assault in the United States. And what's worse, the rationale put forth by the Supreme Court to justify rolling back nearly 50 years of precedent, that there's no implicit right to privacy in the Constitution, lays the groundwork for a full court press on a host of other settled cases. Deep Listens is taking action, and we need your help. Of course, we want you to learn about the elected officials in your area and vote in every single election, but we'd like you to consider contributing to the national network of abortion funds as well. The NNAB is a clearinghouse of regional abortion and reproductive health organizations across the United States. Their goal is to remove financial and logistical barriers to abortion access, centering on those looking for assistance and organizing at the intersection of racial, economic, and reproductive justice. You can contribute to the NNAB directly at abortionfunds.org/donate. You can also use their site to locate an abortion fund in your area so you can keep your money local and aid your neighbors. Thank you, and now back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Off the Deep End. Oh wait, shit.
Hello, good people. Welcome to Off the Deep End.
They took it.
A Deep Listens podcast where we cover role-playing video games in semi-depth. Sort of like a swimming pool with a deep end. Thus the name of the podcast.
You see why I have to literally read it? Because otherwise I'd bust
let's
up.
Be quiet. Let's be quiet.
That's it. That's the intro.
Fuck you. No. We're not doing this. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you. No. This is what you do to be when you're a bad pet owner, and how you discipline your animals when they like make a pee pee or a poo poo. Is you hold their little face in it and be like, "Look what you did. Look what you did. ZP, look what you did." So that's what's happening here. This is Off the Deep End. You all heard the intro. My name is Jeff Rude. I used to host the show. Joining me, apparently the new host, is Chris, Zombie Pie Redacted. Hi, Chris. How are you doing, host?
Well, Jeff, you're Norwegian, right?
Tread lightly. Yeah, I'm Norwegian. I'm a Norwegian American, to be clear.
Norwegians are a part of Scandinavia, right?
So far, so good.
Well, I accidentally used the term Scandinavia when talking to someone who was Finnish, and I've never felt like I was that close to being stabbed in the fucking belly and gutted like a fish my entire goddamn life.
Finland's got opinions about being Scandinavia. Finland and Estonia are fun because it is very plausible in a lot of American academic area studies kind of things. Finland just gets put in with Scandinavia, and some Finns don't agree with that, and some do. And then Estonia is a Baltic nation, which has people that are like, no, we're definitely part of Scandinavia. And there are people in Scandinavia who are like, you not only are not Scandinavian, we don't want you in Scandinavia, and you will never get to be a part of Scandinavia. It's very fun, because all these lines, as you know, are very real. If you look at the map,
kind of like,
they've been there forever.
Kind of like how Romania just completely reinvented their language so as that they didn't have to use the Cyrillic alphabet. And it's like, wait a minute, let's reinvent our language so as that it's a Romance language. Oh, shit, yeah.
It's fun. It's specific nationalist and national animus-related stuff, always a real pleasure to talk about. This game, I guess, kind of plays with some of that, but we'll get there because we have to introduce two other people still. Because also joining us, we have Braden Arbitrary Water Redacted joining us as always. Hello, Braden. How you doing?
Hello. Hi, guys. I have a food bit.
The joke is he does have a food bit.
I have a food bit. So, when you're out in the grocery store purchasing a frozen pizza, what does one look for when purchasing a frozen pizza?
CP, you answer this first.
Does it have a lot of toppings? Is it overpriced? And what is the ease of use? Is it a rising crust? Is it a thin crust? These are the things I look for when I'm buying a frozen pizza.
Wrong, motherfucker. For dinner today, I had Lil Yachty's. He is a musical artist,
yes,
I believe.
Is.
I have I believe I've heard some of his songs. He seems okay. I don't know. Cheese and hot honey pizza.
Okay.
Which I bought in the frozen pizza aisle of my local Walmart and cooked in an oven at 400 degrees for approximately 24 minutes.
So
it
far,
burnt
so
my mouth.
good.
It was kind of mediocre. I would like Mr. Yacht, Yachty Jr. No, that's a different.
Mr. Yacht is his father, please.
I have a question.
Yes.
How was the hot honey conveyed? Was it on the pizza?
It was in the sauce.
Okay.
It was mixed in the sauce.
So it was not a separate pouch full of
No.
honey. Okay.
No.
Because there are some pizzas I've bought in my frozen pizza eating life, which is, by the way, also a very Scandi thing. They're big on them, and they look very, very not great. Trader Joe's would do this, right? They'd sell like frozen pizzas, and they'd come with like a thing of, caprese oil or whatever that you put on.
Yes, I'm aware of this.
Yeah, part of white culture is Trader Joe's. Shout outs to all my milk drinking friends out there.
Shout outs to all my homies who get their chicken tikka masala from Trader Joe's.
God,
including me.
This is a disaster show. I'm not stopping this for nothing.
Yeah, but I will say, for a cheese pizza, a pizza sold on the number of cheeses it has, there was not that much cheese.
That's a crime.
That's a crime.
Yeah, that sucks when you get that. You hate to see it. There was my go-to pizza place that we'd order from in I will say Jones County, Texas, was 100% in a gas station, and I don't know if they still make pizza, but you would order an extra cheese pizza to like slop, 4 kids at a sleepover, and they're like, right, got you. And I swear to God, the cheese on those pizzas was like half an inch deep, like after they'd baked it. It was unbelievable. It was like a mess. It was probably, not that I care, it was probably like a 3,000 calorie slice of pizza just from the cheese.
I have no problem with this.
Yeah, it's what you want. When I say extra cheese, like, look at the adjective, right? Like,
I can't live that life anymore as someone who is probably going to be 30 by the time this podcast comes up.
Good for you.
Because
it's overrated, but good for you.
I fucking love cheese.
Oh, okay.
My gastrointestinal system sometimes disagrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have that problem. I have that gene.
Yeah, the Scandinavians are the only demographic that consistently does not develop lactose intolerance.
I'm really surprised if that doesn't express in Mongolia specifically, just based on the cooking I've seen.
Yeah.
Because, like, what they eat in Mongolia is just what they eat in Valhalla, like, every day, like, to get the motor going. It's incredible. Hey, I've been doing a really horrible job of this, but we do have one other person to introduce, as was the case in our last episode where we covered Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura. We're joined once again by Relkin from the Deep Listens community and elsewhere. Hello, Relkin.
Oh, I can talk now?
Yes. You've been a goddamn saint. Not only have you been a saint, I would like to reward your saintliness by giving you an opportunity to tell people a little bit about yourself, because I don't know if you've been on any Deep Listens episodes, but I've listened to most of them.
No.
So I don't know if our audience has gotten a early chance to get to know you, but you're in the Discord for those who are in there. What else is going on in Relkin's life?
I screw around and play RPGs of varying kinds, predominantly Japanese role-playing games.
Okay.
But that doesn't really matter. Don't even bother about that. We need to get back to this Scandinavian issue. Zombie Pie, if you hadn't said Scandinavian, if you had said Scandahoovian, as I understand they love to be called that, you might not have gotten that stabbed vibe.
Let me find some paper. I'm going to write this down.
I can say that. I'm like 50% various Scandahoovian, so that's fair.
All right. Scandahoovian. Okay, got it. Wrote it down.
Yeah, we're like a Dr. Seuss book.
All right. Y'all can have that. My spouse found an audiobook of it's a Danish man it's
called Everybody Poops.
In a very Joe Pera-esque voice talking about the concept of hygge,
which is, I guess, a very TikTok-friendly concept of just, like, making spaces deliberately, like, cozy, for lack of a better word. It is both a design philosophy and a life philosophy, right? Of, basically, like, slowing down. It is very, like, Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance friendly concept, but it is, like, of Scandinavian origin. But, I literally invoke Joe Pera because if you've ever just, like, watched that man dress like, a youth minister and gently talk to you about, like, eating pancakes, that is the vibe, basically. But with a little more flirty dirty in the language.
It's like Swedish feng shui.
Yeah, it is. It is embraced pretty broadly across really all of Northern Europe, but like Norway is the only one of these languages I've like studied for like 2 years a while ago, and it's starting to slip. But they would sure probably claim it for themselves. And then this Danish guy made the case that it's like it was ours. We came up with this. It's like I don't know if you came up with the idea of like wearing like old mismatched wool socks, sitting by a fire with candles lit, reading like a crime novel and eating a chocolate bar at Easter in a cabin. Like, I don't know if you invented that, buddy. Okay.
Life.
like
what a goal.
A fucking stoned college student invented that in like the early 20th century.
And I want to eat a chocolate bar in a cabin in the woods.
Chocolate. If y'all get a chance, seek out, like, if you look at the back of a chocolate bar, I swear to God, we're going to talk about a video game, audience. I really promise. And the name of the country of origin looks like one of them Scandinavian countries. You just buy it, okay? Because milk chocolate, specifically milk chocolate from Norway, is unbelievably good. I'm not going to say it's like best in the world or whatever, but I slobber about it. I go pay $8 for a quick lunch every once in a while.
You're not like those arrogant Swiss.
No, it's not, because it's $8 as opposed to $30. One of my favorite regional things is watching people screw up Switzerland and Sweden. Every time it happens, just a little, whatever the opposite of angel getting its wings happens to me.
How do you get those ones mixed up? I get Switzerland and Austria mixed up. But...
That's the better one. You would screw those up. They're neutral countries. They make a lot of weapons. Anyway.
They were collaborators in parts with Nazis.
Yeah, one of them was outright occupied, but yes.
Only one of them has
it was Switzerland
tour.
The funny part is Sweden also low-key kind of collaborated on some stuff. So, and Norway really likes to point that out whenever given the chance. And that is called
But
the
Carl
team.
Gustaf Emil Mannerheim is the only famous Finnish person I can think of.
You don't know Urho fucking Kekkonen, motherfucker? Okay. It's like maybe the most successful, like, third wave politician or whatever in, like, the 20th century. He was, like, the Suharto of Europe. Definitely
That's a
low-key.
deep cut.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut, Jeff.
I mean,
wow.
but, like, that's the mold, right? Like, he's low-key probably a fascist, but he's also, like, well, I've got NATO on one border and the USSR on my other border, and we're just trying to get by. So I guess I'm just going to strong arm hold this country under my boot for 40 years. And meanwhile, just build, like, a pretty robust welfare state. And it worked. Like, that man was president of Finland, elected democratically for, like, 40 years.
Yeah.
Like, insane. Anyway.
Now the prime minister of Finland is a cool lady who parties.
Yeah. How dare she?
How dare she enjoy herself?
We are going to talk about a video game.
Wait, we talk about video games here?
Look, yes.
Magic pen gel. Here we go.
Don't tempt Gino. To get through the rest of this quick preamble, if you'd like to be a part of these pre-show discussions, such as everything that just happened, this can't emphasize enough. This is kind of what our Discord does sound like, and we would happily let you come chat with us. But you gotta pay the troll toll to get into the boys' hole. And you do that at patreon.com/deeplistens. Patreon.com/deeplistens/boys hole. Kicking in any amount gets you access to our ultra secret Discord that I just advertised. And if you would like to, have your shit put on this podcast outside of the scope of a Discord, you can send that via electronic mail to inquiries@deep.lol. And we do keep a ranking list also that's up available as bit.ly, that is bit.ly/OTTE rank. That is Oscar, let's see, Theodore, T is T. What is T in the NATO link? Tango, yes. Oscar, Tango, Delta, Echo, rank. There you go. Thank you. Shield, Epsilon. Fun fact, the NATO language alphabet has 29 letters because Norwegian throws in an extra 3 vowels, and I don't remember how to say them. So I'm going to cop right now and say I did not spend much more time with this game, and I regret inflicting this on everyone because the work that you guys put in was not really matched by me, and some of that is just me having a hard time admitting that this is just not my shit anymore. It's just not. And I feel bad about that because this is a quality fucking game. Like, it's absolutely good.
So tell us more, Jeff, about your psychology or what inspired you to move on as a person from Arcanum.
Jeff, why are you weak?
Very easy. It's, I think I just don't like sitting and playing games at a computer with a keyboard anymore. Because it just feels
I have bad fucking
Oh, what
news.
the fuck?
It's work posture. It just feels like, because this is what I do for my job. Now, I know what you're about to say. Most people do work at a computer now. And I'm like, nobody, this is all I do at my job. I do think it's about that simple. Like, if there was some incredible, they managed to get Baldur's Gate to kind of work on a controller, right? Like, I think it had just been as simple as if they had just drag and dropped, like, a really, really crude, X input support for this game with a mod, which I'm not even saying there isn't, may have had a better chance. It's also not my only gripe with it. But I want to be very clear. I do think this game has, like, cool shit. I don't know, I feel bad. But I'm going to let you drive, so...
I am curious. You said you didn't play much more of it. Did you get through, I guess, the next step past where we stopped? Did you get through the Black Rock Mountain sequence?
Yeah, that part I want to talk about in particular. What?
Yeah,
You made the right choice.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you guys kind of alluding to that did not help. I'm putting myself out here, right? Like, I deserve to be ridiculed for what I've done. Like, I'm open to that. And I'm open to also, again, I want to be very clear, not because this is not, like, unsalvageable or unpalatable even today, right? Like, part of my, like, you know what I'd rather be playing right now? I think I want to fiddle with Wizardry 4. Like, I'm down
really?
for bullshit, okay? Like, the somewhat clunky nature of a 20-year-old game is not off-putting to me, considering I'm up for a 40-year-old clunky game, right? Anyway, we're going to talk about, I guess, let's call it the back half of Arcanum for a while, and by us, I mean the other 3 people here, and why it's good. Black Mountain Hill Place, there was the phrenology quest that ended up fun. I'll say that. That's a good arc.
Well, before we get into the actual main platform, I do want to point out something that I think we brought up when we were talking about the phrenology quest line. And it is, generally speaking, I feel like the side quests were a more enjoyable part of my experience with Arcanum than continuing with the main story.
Oh,
I actually thought
Western RPG.
Yeah.
Fucking Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, that's yes. Like, as soon as this game is asking me to fight things for extended periods of time, it's kind of losing me. When I'm getting, like, when it's getting into the writing, reels me back.
Yeah.
And that side quests are a little more writing and sort of ephemeral world building stuff. Turns out the world building in this game, pretty good.
Yeah. Did any of you meet the Ghost quest line in Shrouded Hills?
Which ghost?
Bessie Toon.
Oh, Bessie too?
I did, yes.
Is it the bandit ghost? He's killed a wizard's family?
No.
Okay.
You have to free the ghost of Bessie Toon. So.
Oh, yeah. I made it down to... God, okay. So Bessie Toon's son owns that mine, right?
Yeah, Percival Toon.
Percival Toon, and he's got a sister who's still alive, who's in
Durnholm.
Durnholm. So I went down and talked to her, and as I recall, she's just trying to wash her hands of the whole thing. But yeah, I did meet the ghost in the mine.
I feel like that, yeah, like there's that to me defined a lot of Shrouded Hills, and like there's the tax quest line that defines a lot of Durnholm and like the Black Root area, and then there's that Twin Skulls quest line that defines like Tarrant, and then there's the White Tech Church. I've never understood how to pronounce it. The murder quest line that defines Caledon. There's a lot of weird quest lines that define the greater world and shape your kind of understanding of things. And it's almost as if you have to do these side quests to kind of peel off the veneer of some of these cities and some of these kind of like shiny places and find out that there's actually this kind of shitty underpinning for like the world of Arcanum. When you start to investigate things, you realize this entire world kind of sucks.
Yeah, putting this in like, if you say this is like a lot of Western RPGs in the like world building kind of way, which, the most successful of those being like sort of, let's just call it the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, right? And like that, and even like Oblivion before it, the thing about those games is like you'd go to, whatever the town was, and generally each town would have like a side quest that kind of was like, this is like the story of this town, is like this kind of authored thing. I want to like really kind of deconflate these two things a little bit, because like I feel like particularly when you get into Skyrim, the writing on those was always very like functional, caveman, kind of clunky. Like the plots aren't that complex, right? Like it's like there's a ghost in this town. Like there is a murderer in the fucking snowy town in Skyrim or whatever, right?
Like you can tell in which quests they spent money on.
Yes.
Right.
And this game, like, I feel like maybe I wouldn't say each town's just got sort of like one defining feature or tale to them. Or like I feel like maybe they kind of do though. I feel like the stuff that is below, like you would expire those quests or whatever in like Elder Scrolls 4 and 5, and it'd be like, that's it. There's nothing left for you in this town. Right? Like, it's just a place to go sell shit after that. And like, oh, I bought the house. Like, congratulations, this town is now cashed. It seems much harder to cache the towns in this game of stuff to do. Like, virtually everyone has something.
There's a fair number of things that show up elsewhere that then lead back to that town. I've got a really good one I'd like to talk about later.
And they don't feel radiant, for lack of a better word. They feel very authored most of the time.
Yes.
Even if they aren't like incredible stuff, right?
Yeah, depending on how your character is built, you might not encounter some of them. Like the whole Thieves Underground side quest is basically meant for people who can pickpocket and pick locks.
Wait, where's that?
The Thieves Underground?
Yeah.
You can join it in Tarrant, and they also have branches in Caledon and in one other place. And it's just like a handful of like, hey man, what if you stole this shit?
Right.
Quests.
Caledon, like the Caledon murder side quest, I thought was really, really cool. Could you?
Yeah, by all means, elucidate. I've never even been to Caledon.
So there's a murder victim. There's the guard out front that won't let you in until you speak to the Chief Inspector Henderson at the police headquarters. And you start finding that there's just a bunch of people who are getting murdered in Caledon. You eventually get tapped when you talk to that inspector to try and see if you can gather some clues about who is committing the murders. And then, Braden, did you finish this quest?
No.
I did not finish it.
There's a bit of Jack the Ripper stuff going on with it, though.
It's basically the person who is likely committing the crimes is in high society, let's just say, and the message is that no one.
It's above your pay grade.
It's both above your pay grade, and the person keeps getting away with it because, no one of high society would ever demean themselves with crime. That's for the poors. But there's also like the White Tech Church murder, and you got to stop that, right? So like you find that the White Tech murder is like a chain quest, and these are things that happen. So there are chain quests and there are side quests, and the chain quests are a bit different from like the regular quests in that like there's like they're time sensitive, I think, because there's like the investigate the Min Garad, and you have to do that quickly in the village of the Dark Elves, and then you have to report back to Raven for that one. There's a lot of stuff that pops off, and sometimes it's kind of hard to know if you pop the things off, right? Like, you find out about these murders by the Y Tech Church murders by just reading a newspaper, and you find that newspaper in the Mushroom Inn, right? And then you talk to that victim, and then you talk to the police in the headquarters, and then Henderson directs you to interview people. And then there's like the next step is like, yeah, go find a demonologist. And then that part could take you just as much time as like getting the quest to actually communicate all of this stuff. And so for the more complicated side quests, it can be really difficult to know what you need to do, because this is definitely of an era of CRPG where it's like, talk to everybody and it'll all come together.
Yeah.
I think another one that
Stare at a walkthrough.
yeah, it just stare at a walkthrough is the real solution. But there's another really good one where, and we really do need to talk about the dwarves and what the game does with the dwarves, like thematically. But there's a quest line where you're tasked with trying to find and investigate this believed to be long dead clan of dwarves. So you go to like the Wheel clan, and there's Eric the Obsidian, I think. He's like, yes, we want you to help me find the lost burial ground of the Iron Clan. And you need to find the Durin Stone, which is a reference, Durin. And he gives you this schematic to build an iron key, and then you have to find a stone. And it eventually comes to you like finding this like long lost like society of dwarves, and it kind of ducktails into, you know, uncovering this lost history and how basically humanity and even the elves to a certain extent have really fucked over the dwarves in the world of Arcanum. And
DuckTales?
I guess that is
I'm sorry, did you say DuckTales?
He did. He threw him off his game. That was very...
I mean...
It's very relevant if you like having Magnus and long hair in your party.
It's DuckTale.
Yeah, it would have been fun if I could have recruited him if I had a charisma score of 8 instead of 7.
That's why I did a charisma build.
Yeah, I knew that when I started playing. Again, look, this
Man who obstinately refuses to change builds in a game about builds.
I'm not
saying, why is my build bad?
Yep. To be clear, not actually complaining, because I know what I ought to have done. I derive as much satisfaction looking at the Wikipedia and fucking game facts, me like, here's what would have happened if I had an 8th charisma point. I would have recruited this man, like, you know, I guess this is a broader thing. Like, I could watch 10 hours of a TV show, or I could read the plot summary of this TV show and have zero, like, oh my god, I really missed out on, like, watching this TV show by just reading what happened. Like, don't care.
I kind of envy that.
It might be a sickness, but let me tell you.
That's a fucking coward's route.
It's a very efficient sickness.
Mr. I don't even watch movies anymore. I just read the summary and decide whether or not I want to watch it.
No, I don't. Then I'm good.
And yet you still watched the new Star Wars trilogy.
As soon as I learned that the fucking Emperor came back in that 9th movie, I went home and put that on immediately, because I was like, this sounds like a car crash. Spoilers for a 3-year-old movie. A car crash that I cannot afford to not see anymore.
To kind of actually lead to your point, Braden, it leads to this weird... I think this is like a very indicative of the CRPG experience, where the actual world building and storytelling, the heavy lifting is done by side quests. And if you just progress the main path, there's a lot of weird gaps and holes to the world building and storytelling that you can just not opt into. And
yeah, it's because the main story is like a series of just go here quests. Like, it's just go from here to here, and I go to the Isle of Despair. Now go find to these dwarves, and it's...
And I would even say that, like, Baldur's Gate and even Diablo were better about at least putting a little meat on the mainline quest line bone, right? I think there was better storytelling to those games than what Arcanum did with their main quest, and like all of these kind of like combat arenas and big story set pieces just feeling empty. It's a weird
What about the
shortcoming.
dungeons?
What,
Yeah.
you don't like endless hallways that make abrupt 90-degree turns and then go back in on themselves forever and ever?
I think you kind of get to
About
this at
traps.
in ZP, your that blog post you put up about Redguard a little bit, and which by the way is very good. By the way, Arbitrary Water also does good blog posts. There's like there are a couple people writing blogs on the Giant Bomb website right now. That
Big shout out to Borgmaster for playing every single game on the PS1 from 1995 in a year.
it's a hell of a thing. But yeah, I have always enjoyed, as you have confessed to, dicking around and just like reading the books in Elder Scrolls, right? Because like that's where the turbo nerds at Bethesda like are doing the actual, here's why this town exists where it does. Like if you've ever wondered like who were the Aelids and who were their kings, it's like it's all is in those books, like to an exhausting, needless, pointless degree. And some of that's just like the runway you get in a Western PC RPG, as opposed to Dragon Quest, right? Like it's a smaller ROM. It's designed to be a smaller thing. If you want to tell stories in the margins have to be like directly next to the sort of main, golden path through the game, right? So when you have a canvas as big, and I think this may be like the defining feature of Arcanum, if nothing else, like they went big. Like it's an enormous, preposterously big game. And, there is an A plot, and it is, as you mentioned, a little kind of like go to place and talk to man, and then, kind of wrote dungeon 90-degree turns shit. But then you start talking to everyone else in town and start learning about like the vast web of bullshit and conspiracies and like horrible, like, there's the defeated nation to the south of Deerhome that are basically a bunch of Luddites that swore off magic and lost a pretty major war as a result. And they're all kind of butthurt about it. That's not a plot, right? But that comes out when you start engaging with like literally anyone in town and be like, what's going on here? And they're like, yo, it sucks.
We reject the technology.
Yeah, you notice that we have like torches and like coopers, like actual people
Knights
making
in
wagon
armor.
wheels and shit, right?
Thatch roofs.
Yeah, like that's like that wasn't like incidental stuff. Like that all has meaning, and all that meaning is in the game. You just kind of have to poke around for it. Like I do think it's like a meaningful separation between like east and west in some kind of shitty, really glib way, but it kind of is, like, particularly at this point, right? Like versus at this period, what we're talking about, like Final Fantasy IX, right? Which has a little bit going on in the margins, but compared to this, and even Baldur's Gate, like Baldur's Gate feels like kind of a weird split the difference move, because it is fairly streamlined. I think it's also worth noting that game also like was commercially successful beyond this game's wildest dreams, maybe with good reason.
Baldur's Gate has decades worth of campaign setting source books to draw upon.
Yeah, maybe that is a good point. Maybe Baldur's Gate got there by cheating. Like, you already know what Baldur's Gate is. Like, when you go pick up this game, be like, oh,
It's a big
Candlekeep.
city.
I've been there. Or I was there when I was, Timmy Too Small the Hobbit in my own homebrew campaign in the Forgotten Worlds universe or whatever.
It's a city-state run by a bunch of self-proclaimed dukes whose main army and police force are a bunch of mercenaries. Also, there's wealth inequality.
You set him off.
Also, they love worshipping dark gods there.
That is, it's a canvas thing. Like this, Troika deliberately, perhaps to their detriment, were just like, what's the biggest thing we can do with this sort of Fallout 1 template? And like, I think they met the brief there. And the appeal for something like that, I think even in its day, was never going to be the size of something for something like Baldur's Gate. But
Sure.
you do wind up with all these really, really, really ornate little Fabergé eggs of story all over the place as a result of what they did, right?
Can I talk about one of those real quick?
Yeah.
So speaking of quest lines that, like Braden said, referenced earlier, you just might not see based off your build. So as in the last time we talked about this, my character was just pure melee. She just has a big sword and a shield, and she just kills everything. Well, I started to focus on training and skills because I hadn't done that. I just put full points into melee, full points into dodge, and didn't think about it. And then I eventually learned that there was a skill system. And it eventually leads me to the Master of Dodge in, I believe it's the town of, I can't remember. It's just a little northwest of Toronto. It's like a little snowy mountain village. And I talked to this guy there, and he ends up offering me a choice. If I want to become the Master of Dodging, I have to find and kill his arch nemesis, the guy who happens to be the Master of Melee. Which is like, oh, okay, I guess they're making you choose between whether you get dodge or whether you get melee mastered. And so I go find the guy, and he tells me that he's actually willing to give this guy who wants to kill him this potion that will restore his sight after this guy took his eyes in a duel long ago over a woman. But he only give that to you if you go find the woman he wants to marry, who apparently has been kidnapped. And so you go find her, and then she's like, oh, I hate that guy. Fuck him. I'm not going to marry him. And then I was able to ask her, okay, no, but what if, and they do this over the point of like several dialogue choices. What if you did marry him? She's like, no, hold on. What if you did marry him? And then I got my reward, and I learned to become the Master of Melee, and then I killed him. And then you get to go home to the other guy who will then have his sight restored. And so you go through the entire process. I get the entire town of, I think it was Durnholm, where he is attacking me. And I go and get the other guy upon taking this dude's eyes, I think it is. And he restores his sight, and I get both the Master of Dodge and Master of Melee. And then I kill him as well. It was a great quest line. I had a wonderful time with him. I became the perfect warrior, and I am effectively unkillable. I like video games.
That's good shit.
I believe every single skill has some sort of quest like that for master rank.
Yeah, so whatever weapon style that you've done, like for me, like I said, I am playing an all-throwing, all-pyromaniac Molotov cocktail build. There's a special legendary throwing weapon that I can get, that I can use. I think everyone can get it, but it's very important for my build. I think that, Relkin, you brought it up, I think on the Discord, the power balance in this game, especially when you get closer and closer to the level cap, like the worry of dying in this game becomes kind of a joke.
Let me put it like this. I'm like 3 levels away from the level cap. My strength, con, and dex and melee and dodge are completely maxed out. Yes. If I'm standing still in combat, I can attack 6 times in a single turn.
Jesus.
I kill basically anything in a single turn. It's
and I got it to where if I was throwing like Molotov cocktails, like the buff on fire damage was so ridiculous that if a character stayed on a tile that was inflamed, that I basically knew they were going to die within like seconds.
I would like to thank you specifically, ZP, because I started leaning a lot harder on Molotovs in my dwindling time with the game, and yeah, that shit's awesome. You should absolutely be doing that. It's great. It just dissolves certain low level encounters. Very, very good shit.
But no, yeah, I think that this is just kind of one of the, if we were to pick the brain of someone who made this game, like the programming for it, this is kind of like one of those weird things that might be considered a design flaw if you're from the outside looking in, but the philosophy was, oh, you found a way to break the game. Congratulations. There were plenty of ways for you to not do that, and you would have been miserable. And you would have to grind out of your way out of that hole. But you found a way to not be in a hole in the first place. Hooray!
And that is nice until you get to some major boss encounter and it just goes down in a single turn without getting to attack you. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So this game just provides so many options for you that I think that the ability for the developer to make sure that all of those options were balanced was virtually impossible.
Yeah. And to their credit, I think they spotted that and just at a certain point said, you know what, fine. Because it is a very breakable thing. And
Speedrun is 2 minutes long.
I mean...
It's faster than 2 Worlds.
2 minutes?
I will look this up.
It's 14 seconds faster than the 2 Worlds speedrun. That's great.
They must be doing some sort of sequence breaking
Yeah, something
shit.
is very wrong there.
Yeah.
Well, in the main story, I did hit a point where I guess like the boss of the game comes at you. So I wonder if you can trigger that early or something. I don't know.
That's like, well, I guess Gone Home is like 1 minute or some shit, right? Like that's the scale we're talking about when you get that low. Wowzers.
I recall seeing a speedrun of Myst that was like less than 15 seconds.
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
well, no, the thing with Myst is that the final puzzle presents itself right from the get-go. You just need to find the clues as to what buttons to press on the final puzzle. So if you memorize what the solution of the final puzzle is rather than go through the serpentine route of getting all of the clues, you could just go there and
you mean playing the game?
Yeah. I mean, like Outer Wilds, the speed run of that is like, probably 6 minutes long or something. And it's just like, oh yeah, I know what I need to do. And it's like, it only took me 20 hours of, flying into the sun to figure that out. Right. The speed runs are on a fun spectrum. And speedrunning RPGs feels like particularly profane to me for some reason. I guess Myst and that kind of shit kind of winds up in the same bucket, but it's like think of all the man hours that went into like just literally writing non-player character text in something like Arcanum. And you're just like cruising through every town, just like, turning in the ring to get the name of the guy to go to the store to like, it's just like hurtling through life, like just doing retirement paperwork basically. Like you've completely missed the point. But if you're having fun, hey, no, we ain't shaming fun.
But anyways, so for those of you that did progress beyond where we stopped, so Black Mountain Clan, the Black Mountain stuff. I like what you learn. Every single time that we are forced to interact with the dwarves in this world, I feel like it's a fun time, or at least there's a lot of interesting stuff with the story. Black Mountain fucking sucks.
Okay.
It's not, so it's a 4-level dungeon. The first part is just, kind of like a catacomb. And then you get to like level 2 where it's like literally a labyrinth. And then you get to level 3 where it's got like a bunch of open areas. And then level 4 is when it's got all of the weird rooms where you can get like the power axe and I think one of the schematics and stuff. And you have to find Gudmund or Gudmund.
What'd you call me?
You have to investigate the Isle of Despair, right?
Yes.
Like that's
Yes, but let's talk about getting to the guy that tells you about that.
Oh, right.
So this is a running theme in this podcast, but anytime I actually have to play this game as an actual game, it's a nightmare. And the Black Mountain Clan is like, hey, motherfucker, I hope you're like level 20 because...
It's a gear check, you're right.
You want to break your weapons against these fucking golems?
You just punch it. What's the problem? You just punch it twice and it dies.
That's gaming.
Did you all not... Were you not able to do that? That's weird.
I cast harm on them, and that kind of worked.
But you get through all of this nonsense, the long labyrinth that bends back in on itself and has tons of dead ends where if you took the wrong path, you end up against multiple ore golems and fuck up the durability on your weapons and stuff. And you finally get to the throne room, and you take out a bunch of these little imps, these little goblin, I think of them like the fallen enemy type from Diablo 2, and you get to this hallway. Does anybody want to talk about this hallway? Because I get angry thinking about this hallway.
It's just an endless stream of dudes that come after you, one after the other, and it feels unrelentingly like just this stream, nonstop stream of just bullshit.
If you have one of the spot trap scrolls that are strewn throughout the dungeon, because there's a ton of them there, in this hallway, which goes on for a long way, I would actually recommend anybody to look up the map for this place. I think it is called the Black Mountain. Because
Jeff,
the map for this area is kind of like in the bottom left.
Yeah, it's a bastard.
And it just extends to the top right. It just keeps going. And that entire hallway is just completely strewn with traps to the point where if you have that scroll on, it looks like a disco room and just it's a bunch of like colored tiles everywhere you go. It's absurd.
That's the other thing is there's a lot of traps in this dungeon. And if you haven't spec'd your character to even be marginally good at detecting traps or disarming them, you're going to have a bad time here. It's also just long.
Yeah.
Like a 4-part, 4-level dungeon. And admittedly, the first part's not that bad, but that second and third part just is, yeah, you're right. That corridor that just, it's a linear trek and it just serpentine winds around for no reason in particular other than it wants to make itself arbitrarily long.
It reminds me of...
It's just not a fun time.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the worst parts of like Phantasy Star 2 in some sense, right?
Or Final Fantasy 2.
Or Final Fantasy, yeah, like 80s RPGs, not necessarily called Dragon Quest 1, which had some of that, but it was like too old and too small to have gone down this dark road.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying about Phantasy Star 2. Do you mean like late in the game where there's like those 4 dungeons spread out across the world?
That is what I'm talking about.
I stopped playing the game at that point.
I have gotten as far as Dark Falls in that game and never quite got over the hump of that. So, which is to say, I've played every dungeon in that game, and gotta say, stopped being fun at a certain point. It was just I need to get through these vinegar strokes to finish what I started here, and well, hey,
poor Nay.
Yeah, never avenged her, but yeah, it just deliberately, again, like there's a way that you can have this be the gear check without also being like time investment check. Not tremendous stuff.
And I think it's especially crazy when you think about how there's no build-up in terms of the dungeons to this. You go from the crash site to having to work your way past the guards at the bridge in Shredded Hills to I think it's
there's a warehouse full of rats
in
like Tarrant, right? Like, yeah.
And then this.
Yeah, like you can tangle yourself into some combat-heavy areas in Trent, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Like, you could spend time skunging it around in the sewers of Tarrant if you really want, but don't.
I did everything down there.
It sounds like you did.
Yeah, because you picked a.
It took like 10 minutes.
You level up. So one thing I was reminded of in a video that a YouTuber did on this game that came out between these 2 episodes is the whole idea with the experience system was that because martial characters would be less likely to be able to get quest rewards experience, they would get more experience from hitting things, and that was kind of the intent behind the balancing.
It's worked for me.
But I have no regrets doing what I did and going to a more traditional experience system.
But did you not include the mod that makes?
I did.
Okay.
That's what I did. I turned on the thing that we should mention. Apparently, the guy responsible for the unofficial Arcanum patch that has basically sustained this game for the last 2 decades.
Where is this going?
It's unfortunate. He's from
Great.
Ukraine.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
different.
People haven't heard from him in a bit.
Well, that is very sad. Not to be glib, but it doesn't surprise me that the most earnest fandom from this game comes from Eastern Europe.
I feel like this game, that patch being as good as it is and as comprehensive as it is maybe a testament to how passionate some people are about this game.
Yeah.
Not any of us, apparently.
I can't imagine this being an easy game to write a fairly complex patch for, right? Like, there's a lot of cogs. Haha, that's a joke about Arcanum. But also there's a lot of, like, inner workings of this that probably needed to get accounted for. So, hats off. Let's hope that at least comes to some sort of resolution for anyone who cares about that person.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
And But yeah, the rest of the main quest is basically going from one place to another.
Yeah.
One end of the island to another.
Yeah, right. So after you do Black Rock Mountain, you go to the Isle of Despair, which there's some interesting stuff on the Isle of Despair.
Prison colony.
Yeah, there's the prison colony. There's the tribe of Amazons, which are all women in skimpy Tarzan outfits.
Good stuff.
There's the Shades Beach.
A junk pile.
Yeah, that's the junk pile. The Shades Beach, which is the shipwreck.
But tell me about all those dwarves that we were sent there to find. We found so many dwarves, right?
Well, that leads us to the whole stuff about a certain somebody taking credit for dwarven technology. And kind of one of the better recurring storylines in this game, which is You kind of always knew that What's-His-Bucket was kind of full of shit and thought of himself as like the greatest thing since sliced bread for humanity, bringing technology. But when you start to peel away the layers to his charade, like when you realize that he's been basically stealing technology from dwarves and crediting it to himself, it's kind of like...
But no, Chris. He specifically says that he never took credit for himself. I talked to him about this specific thing.
Well, yeah, you can.
He has an entire diatribe about this.
It's like, oh no, I never said I invented it.
I just didn't correct them.
Well, he would even say that he improved them, like he would make one change and therefore it's his own thing. But no, yeah.
And it helped the entire world, right? Nobody was hurt.
That's how the Creative Commons works, you know.
But anyways, yeah, I think the Isle of Despair was the start of when I realized that, like, this is really like Monster of the Week storytelling here, where it's like I go to a new location, I fight a big evil monster thing, and then I move on to the next location, then deal with that next location's big evil monster thing, then move on to a next location. And
what was even the big monster thing there? What was the big monster? What did you do on the island? I feel like I found the dwarf, I talked to him, I killed him, I took the schematics, and I left the island. I was there for like 9 minutes. What else was there to do?
Well, you could have done Goran's Master of the Pit stuff, and then you had Ogden.
Yeah, I killed all those people.
Wait, you just killed them all?
Yeah, I did kill everybody in the pit.
This is the magic of Arcanum. You can be a murder hobo.
There's no reason not to. It's way faster for me to just kill everybody and walk in than it is to... Also, there's no point. All I do is get sent to another location.
If you're not a gnome, then you can even recruit Thorvald. You just need 9 points of persuasion. You can even ask him, "Hey, I want to steal your glasses." Which, if you're gonna kill Thorvald, at least pick up his fucking glasses.
I had to make some.
Apparently, you can just recruit all of those characters, and it's a good. In most of the guides that I consulted, the Isle of Despair is like, "Hey, if you don't have a lot of allies, this is the place to pick them up."
Huh.
I'm curious, what allies did y'all get? Like, apart from Virgil?
I had Virgil, I had Sog, I had Magnus, and Dante.
I also had Dante.
I was intending to recruit Magnus. Was my next point spend I was planning on doing.
Oh, and Gar.
I think
tea.
I met Gar, and he seemed nice.
Yeah, Gar,
I did not recruit him.
I think I had Jormund as well, and I know I had someone else. Oh, maybe I did have Theobald. I don't know if I really enjoyed... No, yeah, I definitely had Thorvald. I don't know if I enjoyed having extra characters to kind of middle manage and play around with. It was fine. It was fine. I don't think that this game super benefits from having this kind of pseudo party system, though.
I appreciate that you can just take stuff on and off their character dolls or their paper dolls or whatever, but yeah, I'm kind of with you on that because the more I play that game, the more Dante hates me. I keep thinking about all this stuff I've given him, and I'm like, well, if he eventually just decides to kill me, like, did I just waste all this time getting him up to like level 40 or wherever he's at?
Yeah, and when you start getting into like the experience management parts of this game,
yeah, just give a few coins to beggars, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I can do that?
That'll put your karma back up.
Just getting flashbacks to Viconia, Devere. Okay, every once in a while, I gotta kill somebody for no reason to keep her on my team. Otherwise, she goes away.
Listen, she's an emo drow outcast. She don't have time for your hugs and sunshine.
She just wants to step on you, and I'm here for that.
Are drow the worst, like, D&D-ism?
No.
I love running drow in my D&D campaigns, so yes.
Let's talk about Lolth.
Fucking mustache twirling sadomasochists.
I usually just have my drow be like emos rather than masochists.
I love a mustache twirling drow.
But how about this? What if your drow was he just wasn't part of that society he grew up in? He wants to be.
He was an exile, one might say.
And like, what if, like, you know, let's say just hypothetically, instead of one big sword, he had two slightly smaller swords, and he used one.
What if his animal companion was a spectral panther?
All right, I'll take two. Yeah.
Bonus points to anyone in the audience who can spell Menzoberranzan without looking it up.
What is Jeff's usual character build in like all of these D&D adjacent settings? And why is it a dwarf cleric? So, moving on.
Because Scandi. Yeah, so the elves, the elves town that Braden recommended that we stop at, as like if it doesn't work here, then it's not going to work forever.
Oh, I didn't get there. Tell me about it.
Oh,
You'd
Braden.
have killed everyone.
Well, this is about where I stopped when I played the game the first time, like a decade ago, and I didn't even get that far this time.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
This is Quintara we're talking about?
Yes.
no, yeah. Quintara.
Okay. I didn't get there because it seems like it requires that you go completely around the entire continent. And
Yes.
I said, nope.
Yes. Yeah, let's bring up the fact that traveling and exploring the world is not fun, especially the long journeys between towns can sometimes be bad.
Yeah.
We kind of lucked out at the very start of the game when it just auto spawned you in the next town or put you on a boat, basically. But when you got to do that on your own, boy, it's not fun.
Yeah.
I actually found that at some point it seemed like they run out of encounters.
Yeah.
Because I definitely started going long distances from like Toronto to Ashbury, and nothing would happen to me. I don't know if I've just had too many of them or what. Be just good luck.
It just, there's a lot of empty space in the world of Arcanum, and when you need to move from one city to the next, I feel like that's when I simply tolerated playing Arcanum rather than actually enjoying it. It's just
I think playing this game is it's
very
like
mindless.
getting your teeth pulled.
Well, I
when
mean,
you're high on nitrous oxide.
And listening to a string quartet.
Yeah.
we've already
like-
talked about how the music in
Yeah.
this game gets so rote and repetitious that
yes.
it's ugh.
Like individual pieces of music in this game are very good. It's just the uniformity.
Yeah.
But I find the act of playing this game unfucking tenable, and I like these sorts of games.
It's just
And
that
I was thinking about why, and I think a lot of it boils down to the combat is ass, and a lot of the inventory management finagling is annoying.
yeah, and it you both get very powerful to where there's not a lot of sense of challenge, but you just continue to butt up against these mindless, boring, repetitious battles against mooks in these worlds where you're seeing the same thing over and over again. And it just got not necessarily tiring, but I felt tired whenever I played this game.
The Milliquy in hand will have your head.
Over
Milliquy in
and over
hand.
again. Over and over again.
Yeah, I think I fought that encounter with the dark-robed guy and his two like light-robed companions upwards of like 30 times. It's bad.
Just take the train, except when you can't.
They make me sit in the back.
Yeah,
'Cause
they
I'm a
make you sit in the
half-orc.
back, you damn wizard lover.
No, I'm a half-orc.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, to be clear, some of the, there's racial politics in this game that are, like, playing in the space in a way that is, like, to be very glib.
Real 19th century racism.
Yes, or, like, how Star Trek would deal with the subject of racism in a very, like, it's metaphor way. But, like, hey, if you've, like, live in America, or, like, on Earth or alive, or, like, this sort of shit, like, if I just say, like, here's a game that's got, like, some race politics that it sort of plays with, and that's, like, I don't know about this. I don't think this game's gonna be for you, because the way it plays in that space is, like, got, like, we have invoked a side quest line about phrenology about half a dozen times this episode, to say nothing of the last one, and, like, it's pretty good. And also, if you're like, I don't want to fucking engage with the thing that's talking about phrenology in a ha-ha way, this might not be for you.
Yes.
Don't go playing around in this with the potential to re-traumatize yourself, I suppose. Because
I almost feel like the small interactions are the bigger problem. Like, I talked about it last time, but as a half-orc, like, 90% of my conversations start with me having to make multiple choices to appease them so they'll actually talk to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a dirty half-orc. And I can't help but think about that. This is from quite a while ago, but I remember Austin Walker, in response to talking about Mafia 3, said at some point he just got tired of, like, he didn't want to play a game where in the game his character would just be called an N-word.
Sure. Like,
offhand by random NPCs. And it's just like, yeah, I've never experienced that personally, but, like, at some point, like, it's like, okay, I get it. Like, the racist, okay, I get it. The moment-to-moment racism it's a lot.
It's a lot.
So...
And you don't want people to be racist to you, just pick a human.
Yeah, pick...
Only the elves will be shitty to you then.
I roll in a lot of communities with a lot of people who work in social justice work and mental health, professional stuff. And they've taught me this really terrible trick that I've used on friends of different upbringings and different races. And I'm going to walk you all through it right now. So here you go. I want you to close your eyes. Literally close your eyes. And I want you to just picture a person. Okay, what color was that person?
Purple, because I'm in Dragon Ball Z. You didn't prevent me from having my power fantasy.
There's this notion of, like, the white neutral that really fucking sucks. Like, black friends have done this with, they're just like, God damn it. Like, it's like, it sucks. It's usually just, like, a white dude. It's just like, why is that the default?
It's every video game protagonist from, let's say, 2006 to 2015.
Yeah, it's some guy named, like, Jar Brick.
Some dude, some white
I love
dude
Troy
with a shaved head named Nate or something. I don't know.
Alec Dirk. Like,
my name is
Cock Throbson.
Edge Maverick.
I don't like, but for real, it sucks.
Fate line good.
Yeah. So, would any of you, who have all clearly beaten this game multiple times, like to talk about the ending of this game?
I mean, I could tell you about the ending of this game.
Sure, go ahead.
By all means, go ahead.
I watched someone beat it, which is sort of like beating it myself, just like you said, Jeff.
I mean, look, man, that's how I was going to see the ending of this.
I looked at a walkthrough for this game.
I think, okay.
And halfway through it is where I am, but at the very end, there was a thing just called The Void. So please, Braden, tell me about The Void.
And before you do, I'm going to say something even... I'm gonna poke you in the fucking chest about this real quick. If I was wrong... Twitch wouldn't exist, because it seems like there's a lot of people who are totally happy just letting people show them the end of a game.
Yeah, some people like to watch other people play games they've already played. Anyway, I think I think Arcanum is brilliant in a lot of ways. It's also no fun. It is the
Troika promise.
Yeah, the Troika promise.
With my Temple of Elemental Evil experience.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines coming to a podcast near you eventually.
I still need to play that. It's been installed for like 7 years on my computer.
We're legally not allowed to play that before we play Temple, because I genuinely, all of my memories of Temple of Elemental Evil, it's janky and perhaps not super fun, but I enjoyed that thing.
It's obsessive.
That's a game I did start like 7 times just because of all the...
Anyway, so basically, you're not the chosen one. The whole chosen one thing was basically a centuries-long conspiracy theory created by the dark elf cultists who think they're worshiping some sort of dark elf mass murderer.
Yeah.
But it turns out it's actually this character who is only very briefly mentioned beforehand in like background parts of the lore, named Kerrigan, the first necromancer, who was banished to the void and basically seeks a way to get back into the world and destroy all life because life is suffering and he doesn't want people to live because he wants to end suffering. Maximalist. So the clan of dwarves, you find them, they were banished to the void to help build a machine. And so you got to go to the void, and in true CRPG fashion, you can politely talk him down, or you can hit him a bunch with a sword.
Oh.
Yeah.
You can be like, actually, maybe you don't have the right to tell everyone that life is suffering. Maybe some people enjoy life.
Oh man, you
Whoa, that's
got a good
crazy,
point.
bro.
I hadn't considered that.
I hadn't considered that. You must have several ranks in persuasion and intelligence.
I thought it's an interesting idea because I feel like the game spends a lot of time giving you this sense like, oh god, the big theme is conspiracy. And so the end of the game being itself a conspiracy, I thought actually kind of worked in a way.
It does prime the pump quite a bit for me.
Yeah.
It does prime itself a lot that it's been every single city has a conspiracy. Single culture has a conspiracy. Every single named character is a part of a conspiracy.
How do half ogres exist?
Wait.
That's one of the things that's part of the phrenology.
That phrenology
line.
one, right?
Yeah.
That quest goes in some fucked up places.
Yeah.
Jeff, you know the thing you said earlier about how you can just look at a plot summary and be content?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna uninstall Arcanum.
You're good?
This is one of my CRPG white whales.
Yep.
I could beat this game. Nothing is a challenge at all, but
I could beat this game, but also I don't enjoy playing it, and there's still so much more.
Yeah, see, I respect how they made this game from the ground up and filled it with shit. Like, they literally filled this game with every idea that they like. Oh, you remember that stuff we cut out of Fallout? Let's put it in the game. Oh, you remember that time that they didn't want to put it in Fallout 2? Let's put it in this game. You really do get a sense that every single idea, every single blueprint, it got put in here. It got put in.
It is maximalist. It is, as I have said before, peak CRPG.
The problem, obviously, is that the lack of a filter is kind of one of the biggest problems, is that it just has so much here that's...
You gotta make your own fun.
Yeah, you got to make your own fun. There's a lot of plot lines that don't really kind of congeal into a cohesive arc. And then there's a lot of like, well, this is just, the end. The end. That happens a lot.
If you have any angry things you'd like to tweet at us, Gino deleted his Twitter account, so you can't do that anymore. Sorry. You cannot tweet at that Pinguino because he has deleted his account.
You could send it to at deepListens@gmail.com.
Yeah, deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, send the hate mail to that one, not .lol.
Send all of the good stuff to inquiries@deep.lol.
Is this to use the parlance of today's youth, the Zoomers and the like?
Is this
a vibes game? Does this game have vibes?
No.
It has one vibe.
It does
singular.
just have one vibe. And it's like
it has
pensive
one vibe,
Edwardian string to the sound of a guy measuring a skull.
England sure does
suck.
suck.
I guess what I mean by that is like, I feel like when I say vibes, what I'm saying is someone like 40 years ago saying like, it's more about the journey, man.
It definitely is more about the journey.
Yeah. No, it's a game whose strength is it is so fucking ambitious, and not all of it works, but enough of it works with a fan patch that if you put in the time and you climb that mountain uphill in the snow both ways,
I did that.
You will probably have an okay time with Arcanum. I just think about my life, and I think about how I have to manually save constantly because there's no autosave, and the quick save button doesn't work half the time, and I just think I'm good.
I've seen enough. I think I understand what's going on.
I feel like I have seen a glimpse of what its proponents really go for, and I think as a piece of world building, it's incredible, and let's say a on paper representation of like, here's what a classless CRPG with a bunch of character building options. This is the kind of opportunities you can create on paper.
It's definitely an ambitious game. It's just in a lot of ways it was built too wide and it was built too tall, and it's just kind of this unwieldy big oblong shaped thing.
I do think it's fairly telling that the next thing they made is so dramatically scaled down. Like, not that Temple of Elemental Evil is like a 10-minute long game, but it's literally just a dungeon with 10 floors, right?
The original Mega Dungeon.
Yeah.
Gygax's
Like
first.
they went and did like maybe one of the worst parts of this game, frankly, and just like, what if we just really focused on that, like exactly that, to interesting results. But yeah, they're like kind of almost as far in the opposite direction of this game as you could in terms of scale, right? Like a
Right.
town and then a hole in the ground, as opposed to dozens of said with hundreds of said. But gosh, I respect the pants off this fucking thing for what it did. I just stopped, I think broad agreement, combat is a problem, and there might be too much. They might have just made too much of a thing. And for me, that makes it, in addition to the fact that I fell off pretty hard from this one. I feel like honestly ranking this is like not fair. Like I'm ill-equipped to do that. Alas, here I am. And that's kind of what we're doing here.
And all angry mail to...
Can I suggest a starting point for this, Frank?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, then I'm going to back out because this is your guys' thing. Is this game better or worse than NBA 2K16 featuring a Spike Lee joint?
That's a valid question. All questions are valid. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's better written. It's a better RPG. It's just point blank. Yes, absolutely.
You can't throw Molotov cocktails in NBA 2K16 featuring a Spike Lee joint.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's an NBA 2K16 has incredible mechanical depth that is utterly unrelated to its role playing. But yeah, by every other metric, absolutely. That's a fine starting point. How do we feel about this against Eternal Sonata, which for those not looking at home, Eternal Sonata is the number 9 game on this list, at the top of which is a CRPG called Might and Magic 6: The Mandate of Heaven. Who you got?
So here's the thing.
Eternal Sonata or this?
is very funny.
Yes.
Eternal Sonata,
Is equally annoying to play.
Eternal Sonata is equally annoying to play, but unlike Arcanum, where there are ways to get around the things you don't like. I don't think we ever talked about how if you have the necromancy spell that is Speak with Dead, you can solve several side quests just by talking to the dead body, and they will tell you who
They will
killed
literally
them.
say a wizard did it.
Yes. It's fucking great.
Yeah. Eternal Sonata is it frustrates me.
If you hated the dungeons in Arcanum, boy howdy, do we have some worst dungeon nominees from Eternal
Yes.
Sonata.
Yeah.
Also, I
Forest
really hope
sequence.
Star Ocean 6 does well, because I would like Tri-Ace to continue existing so they can make weird B-tier JRPGs.
I have a submission from the
But-
chat. There is no phrenology in Eternal Sonata, which I'd like to point out because it's set in a time period where there absolutely could have been phrenology.
No, because it's a magical dream world with PowerPoint presentations talking about Polish.
Yeah,
national-
considering
how
they
many-
spend all
how-
this time on tuberculosis and shit. I might like this better than Eternal Sonata, and I'm surprised saying that, but the joke, it's the gag. Eternal Sonata is a bit. This wasn't really going for a bit. I just think I'm more impressed by it.
It's not a comedy masterpiece.
Yeah. So I would say above.
What's
Eternal
above?
Sonata.
What's
The
next
next thing on this list is Fire Emblem 1, the most. That's not the most Kaga of Fire Emblems, but it was the first of the Kaga of Fire Emblems.
The most Kaga of Fire Emblems is, ironically, Tyr Saga.
As I've learned. Really good YouTube video.
Tyring or Bearwick Saga?
Bearwick Saga is also very... Maybe we'll need to play those at some point.
Yeah.
I have only played a little bit of Bearwick Saga, and that game seems fucking
There's a
bananas.
YouTube video that came out last week, so this will be very topical, and I wish I remembered the creator's name, on basically the apparent... I knew it was kind of an ugly divorce between Shozo Kaga, the Fire Emblem man, and Intelligent Systems stroke Nintendo. Wow, it's so much worse than I knew.
It is a video by Fairgast called
The divorce that like the worst divorce.
Why
in
Fire Emblem's creator broke the law,
which is
and it's
accurate, basically.
because he got successfully sued by Nintendo.
The day Fire Emblem changed forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, why he got sued.
Strong recommend. Yeah. To wit, he's actually listed on the credits of the version of this game that you could buy on the Switch for 2 or 3 days, was it, when they had that available? Because
that and the
normal
months,
company,
yes.
the Mario All-Star weird thing, was also timed exclusive.
This Arcanum or Fire Emblem 1?
In theory, I would be willing to play Fire Emblem 1 to completion. I feel like this was going to be my one more chance to give this game until I inevitably try to play it again in 5 or 6 years. But the difference is I've beaten Fire Emblem 1 in multiple different forms, just not the NES version.
Little crusty.
What do you think, Chris?
I think Fire Emblem 1 might be a little too crusty.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
Here's
There are better.
the next thing.
What's above Fire Emblem 1?
So the next one's Ultima 4, and this is where I might have to actually put my foot down a little bit. Not that I'm saying we have to stop.
But the historicity.
Like, historical impact. I think these games have some stuff in common, right? Perhaps Ultima 4 also bit off quite a bit more than it could have reasonably chewed. And, the scale of it is kind of slightly obscene for, a 1985 game. But if someone were to look at this list or this project or be like, oh, you guys play CRPG stuff too? I'd be like, yeah, we do. And they were like, which ones would you recommend? Like, which is an impossible, dumb question, right? But I'd probably tell them to check out Ultima 4 or 7, honestly, before Arcanum.
Ultima 7 is actually a playable video game. Ultima 7 is a cool game where you walk around and you talk to people.
Yeah.
And then you sometimes engage in bad combat.
I will admit, maybe I'm being biased by playing
this.
the Master System version of this game.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's my counterpoint. If we're going to give Ultima 4 the nod for historical significance, then maybe we need to reconsider Fire Emblem 1, because wouldn't you say that Fire Emblem has more of a legacy and cultural impact than
if the last decade
Arcanum
hadn't happened, I would say no. Considering that it has, I think that's a more interesting question. But that series was basically 1 foot in the fucking grave until they turned it into a waifu
anime horseshit.
Yeah, waifu anime game.
Not that I think that was the sole design
Fire
goal
Emblem
of
Engage
Awakening
coming
or whatever,
January.
but that's what people liked. That's what they latched to.
Well, that's why that's why all the new Fire Emblem games are dog shit. They're bad. They're for bad people.
You should play Binding Blade, ZP. Relkin's having a really fun time.
Yeah, he is. It seems like a good
Fuck
time.
you, Braden.
Okay, well let's also and I feel like ZP will be interested to hear. Above Ultima 4 is Ogre Battle 64. Person of
Absolutely not.
So
Absolutely
I figure that's going to be
fucking not.
your brick wall.
Nope. I am not going to look. I was maybe the most positive about Ogre Battle 64, but absolutely fucking not.
I think Ogre Battle 64 is a better video game.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
So it's below Ogre Battle 64, so it's above Ultima 4 and Fire Emblem 1.
If there's support to put it above Ultima 4, I will nod to that. There's better Ultima games.
Ultima 4 was my brain leaking out of my ears for 3 hours.
Okay.
And going, I see how this would have blown some kid's mind in the 80s, back when
this is us tacitly
when the
acknowledging
government
that
was intentionally covering up the AIDS crisis, and
Jesus
G.I. Joe
fuck.
was considered.
I played
art.
more Ultima 4 than both of you combined, probably.
I played the PC version. You played the Sega Master version, where it's for
I played
babies.
both.
Played it with real text prompts.
Let me tell you, playing that Master System version makes that game quite a bit friendlier. But I did play both. I played both. Okay, that's where it'll go then. So this will be the new number 7 on the list. Arcanum
Yay.
of Steamwork and Magis Obscura. It is right below Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, and right above Ultima 4, Quest of the Avatar. What a normal list of games. Hey, congrats, Troika. We very excited to see your next project, ?
Yeah, it's a real shame that Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky got back together at Obsidian to make The Outer World.
As I think, as you put it, a game. Like, it's just like if you could put a picture next to the word unremarkable in the dictionary. And that sucks. That game should have been more interesting. But, like, goddamn, I played 2 hours of it and I was like, oh boy.
Get it? Capitalism.
Yeah. But hey, they got them side quest characters, am I right? You know? They sure are interesting. And they're all going to be on your spaceship. Yeah.
Yep.
So, this is finally behind us, and I'm sorry. So we've got basically 2 spots left this year. That's as I'm looking at a calendar. And one of those, I've got some ideas that are for us to know and for you, the listener, to hear. But as for what is going to come down the pike next, we've got, I wrote, the next note just says Little Games / Kusoge. So, here's what I want to do. I want to move this Kusoge concept maybe a little later, and I will tell you guys about that.
Okay.
And that leaves us with a little gap here. So we could pull from the list. I could just Dungeon Master Fiat tell you I took something off the list and put it there to be nice and breezy. Okay. Or, based on conversations we've had as a family, as an off-the-deep-end crew, we could talk about Ys 1, Ancient Ys Vanished, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm wearing my Ys t-shirt.
Are you actually? I'm
wearing an Ys t-shirt I got from a legit Redbubble page that makes Ys t-shirts.
You went to a guy and you said, "Hey, buddy,
this is a comfortable ass t-shirt. System? Okay, this is one of the nicest shirts I have.
Bumping?
You got that doggy
red-haired swordsman."
And
he said, "Yeah, I got the shit." And then he pulled out.
Braden said you've just wrapped up that game.
I beat Ys 1 and 2.
Okay, so you've played both of them.
There.
So wait, I'm the only one who has not played Ys 1. What am I buying? Is it Ys Origin? Is it Ys 1 and 2?
Ys Origin is a different game. It is.
What am I buying?
1+2 Chronicles.
Yeah. It's Ys 1+2?
Yes. If you would like to play the first 2 Ys games, that is the version I played. If you want to go back and play, I don't know, fuck it, the TurboGrafx CD version.
Sure.
Well,
before we get too carried away with this, though, I'm going to say, let's have this be a coin flip between Ys 1 and 2 or a random draw. Which would you take? By Ys 1 and 2, I just mean
let's
like
just
first.
Flip the coin. Just flip a coin.
He said coin, so that's what we're going to do.
Wait, no. Oh, no. You two guys pick it. I'll go with the flow. I feel like I'm always the loud, boastful one. You two figure it out. I want you guys to be...
I already played Ys, so I can talk about it at length.
I'm the only one who has not played Ys.
That game is not long.
It is... No, those games are... Ys 1 took me, 6 hours. Ys 2 took me 7 hours.
But on the other hand, we have a couple little guys on this list, too, that would get us to a patron request. That would not be a 40-hour PC RPG.
Yeah.
So I'm putting this to a coin.
Okay.
That fucker came up tails. We are going to the list. And that means the random spinner has landed upon... Hell yeah, buddy. Okay. The next game. Okay, this is actually very apropos. Poor Doyle. Poor Philadelphia. They just lost 2 sporting championships in a day. Nothing's going right for Philadelphia. Everything sucks there, in addition to it being Philadelphia.
Well, there's the guy who's eating a rotisserie chicken every day of his life, and it's become a social experiment there.
I have somehow become ranked 9. Our basketball.
We're going to rank Legacy of the Wizard.
Hell yeah! Okay!
That's what we're doing next.
Fucking yeah!
Legacy of the Wizard.
We're going to get a fucking CRPG here. What?
Yeah, so Legacy of the Wizard, that is aka Dragon Slayer 4, Legend of Drazzle family for the Famicom.
Yeah, bitch.
It's another high quality Falcom joint.
Yeah, so we actually made it to Falcom anyway, which is awesome.
From 1987.
Oh, I love the Trails
Totally
game.
the same year
Yes,
as East.
yes, this is definitely Trails. All the cool kids. Did this game? This had to have come out on a PC too, right?
This came up at this. Okay, I seem to recall.
On the MSX, apparently.
No. The only time it came out of Japan was for an NES port, and that was 2 years after the fact.
Yes. Okay. So I'm holding both of my copies of this game now, because I went over to my shelf. I've got I own Legacy of the Wizard because hey, you can find loose copies of that for affordable, and Namco was the publisher of record for it in Japan. So I have the Famicom cart as well, which is Dragon Slayer 4 Drazzle Family, which is literally just a portmanteau of Dragon and Slayer. I love the word Drazzle so much.
You kids like
Yo,
Drazzle?
got that Drazzle. Give me that Razzle Drazzle.
Drazzle
There's a
Doorden.
character
So,
named Pochi.
which version should we play? Just the NES version, the Famicom version, the MSX,
This
or the
was published
MSX2?
in the U.S. by
Yep,
Broder.
this is one of those.
Yeah, the Prince of Persia team.
You know, I might try to fire up an MSX device, I suppose, but just be normal, play the NES version. They're also pretty. The one difference is the MSX version is a little crustier. It's going to be in Japanese mostly in terms of people talking to you, and the scrolling is going to not be scrolling. It's going to be like single screen flick game, because that's what the MSX could do. It could show you stuff, but it couldn't scroll very well. So
I'm excited about
this game is cool. It's like I already said the word crusty. I'm trying to find a better word. It's very cool. It has very like exploratory NES game from this period vibe. I am predisposed to enjoy Legacy of the Wizard.
I'm just to thumb my nose towards Relkin and Braden. We're playing a Dragon Slayer game before we play a Trails in the Sky game. Fuck off, you
Or
dicks.
East.
I'm gonna make
They're
you
one and the
fuckers.
same, man.
I'm going to become the M of this podcast, and every single time I get a pick, it will just be another Trails game.
Eat my ass. What if I pick back Xanadu just to taunt you?
Go for it, bitch. Why don't you pick more East games? They're delightful and fun to play.
Apparently, Yuzo Koshiro did the MSX soundtrack for this game, which
Yeah,
now I'm
bitch.
like, okay, we gotta dig that up.
Oh.
So that's okay. So that's what we're doing. So tune in. Probably around Thanksgiving, early December. I don't. Looks like we got quite a few episodes in the pipe in the Deep Listens canal floating downstream. But this will get out. Our arcade episode is still not out as of the time of this recording. So a couple things coming down from us. Meanwhile, thank you for tuning in. If you've been listening on a certain twitch.tv, thanks for being there. I'm definitely not looking at the chat, so I hope you didn't ask me to do anything like play Arcanum, etc. If you've got questions and the like, they can go to inquiries@deep.lol, or you can get onto this Discord we've been talking about. That is doable by contributing a dollar amount of your choice to patreon.com/deeplistens. Also worth noting, we'll probably still run this probably till the end of the year. If you would like to get an RPG into this slush bucket, that is done by getting onto their Patreon. Let us know what you'd like to put in the slush bucket, and we will put it in there, and maybe it'll get drawn, such as Legacy of the Wizard, or Arcanum, or what else is in here? Biomotor Unitron, Trails from Zero, Final
baby.
Fantasy. No Final Fantasies.
Tell me about your slush bucket.
Fire Emblem Seisen no Keifu. Get that Seisen special.
Get that genealogy of that
I'm
holy
all about
war.
genealogy, just like Arcanum. Special shout out to the artist known as SuperSex420 for providing us with a podcast theme music halfway. This and other great tracks by SuperSex420 are available on bandcamp.com. See you next time, and remember, there's no such thing in cheating and Arcanum. That's what the fan patch does. Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Off the Deep End was recorded and edited on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Nisqually or Nisqually people, who have lived on and stewarded these lands and waters since times immemorial.